Hopefully, I found a Jon Jones hater. What I found out from making videos is a lot of times you make a video about someone or something, and they get on there and they say like the rudest things, man, like like you, and like you don't know shit, or like, yeah, well, dude, I totally know like a lot about MMA, like you're just doing that to be mean, so a lot of times people just seems like they search, like almost like they search for me just to call me a dickhead, or just to call me a dick. But hopefully this will, I'm going to use a little reverse psychology, and hopefully you are a Jon Jones hater, because I want to know what there is to hate about the guy. Just today I watched the highlights of he and Stephen Bonner. Excellent fight, excellent fight. Um, that one, I mean, both those fights went to decision, but after that, he just started whooping ass, and I mean, like kicking ass and taking names, man. And he was finishing fights, And most importantly, he was finishing fights. And as he started to finish fights like Jake O'Brien, someone like dive for a double and have the guy fall for it, and then just turn around with that spinning elbow, and at the time he was still working on it. So his timing was off, but you could see that this guy was going to be something special, man. I mean, it had just like I still watch the highlights of that fight today. Just today, I watched the highlights of he and Stephen Bonner. Excellent fight, excellent fight. Um, that one, I mean, both those fights went to decision, but after that, he just started whooping ass, and I mean, like kicking ass and taking names, man. And he was finishing fights, And most importantly, he was finishing fights. And as he started to finish fights like Jake O'Brien, he got the honor to, fight UFC 100. And with those long arms of his, he has an excellent advantage in the choke department. So Jake O'Brien, who was supposed to be a better wrestler than him, and in all this, UFC 100 got put on his ass, and modified guillotine, baby. It was done. He won at UFC 100, and then we moved on to Matt Hamill. It was on Versus. It was No, that was the Tough 10 finale, the Ultimate Fighter season 10 finale. That's when he was. We had never seen Matt Hamill. No one had ever seen Matt Hamill manhandled like that. Just manhandled, like Matt Hamill had nothing to offer Jon Jones. I love you. See you in a minute. He had nothing to offer Jon Jones. He had no take. He couldn't take. He couldn't stop the double leg. He couldn't stop the punches. He couldn't stop the elbows. And he looks up at Jon looks at the ref, and the ref says, "No, you got to keep going." So he keeps going, and I mean, he fed him the most vicious elbows that I've ever seen Jon Jones deliver. And the ref never stopped the fight. So Jon threw a downward elbow, and they called it a DQ. And Jon took it in stride and said, well, that alleviates the pressure of being undefeated. So I'm okay with it. Actually, a DQ, normally, they tip towards the the scale usually tips towards no contest. But downward elbow. That wasn't what hurt Hamill. I mean, Hamill's he was bleeding from his eyes, his ears. His arms were broken. Jon Jones fucked him up, and those were some seriously sick elbows. I love watching that fight too. Then they put him on. They started giving him uh, uh, main slots on TV. They gave him Brandon Vera. First, they gave him Brandon Vera on that was the UFC on Versus. They gave him Brandon Vera, and Brandon Vera's goal in life at that point was to delay the launch of Jon Jones, and he wasn't able to do so, not one bit. I mean, he wasn't even able to help. Actually, he pretty much lit the fuse. It was the win over Brandon Vera. We had never seen Brandon Vera get steamrolled like that, and get put in that position. And Jones said he worked a lot. He saw how Vera works off his back from the guard, and he worked on flicking his wrists. and sticking the point of his elbow right directly into Vera's eye socket, and that's what he did, and came out with a win. Everybody's cheering for this guy. I'm cheering for this guy. Now he's turning into a likable character. He's turning into a likable cat, And then Dana White says, well, he's not, he's still green, he's still a little bit young, so we'll give him a nice veteran. Vladimir Matyushenko, if he gets through Vladimir, then he's the real deal. Vladimir posed no threat at all to Jon Jones' game. He pretty much what happened was, just to feel range, he threw a spinning back kick, pumped his jab, took him down. Within seconds, he was in a mounted crucifix, and there were 100-mile-an-hour elbows just flying down on Vladdy's face, and they stopped it. In the first round, in the first couple minutes, it was over. He just crushed a legitimate UFC veteran, Vladimir Matyushenko. So after Matyushenko, they wanted to see who's the next prospect. Who's the next prospect. Ryan Bader was the Ultimate Fighter winner. He was undefeated. I think he was 15-0 at the time. And Jon Jones. So they put the two together. Who's going to be the next big thing? Is it going to be Bader? It's going to be Jones. And Jon Jones passed that test with flying colors. He threw a head kick so hard to Ryan Bader's right side. I honestly thought, I don't know how he didn't fall down from that. But eventually he did throw enough punches to knock him on his ass, and used a modified guillotine in the second round to put Ryan Bader away. And again, he escaped the fight without a scratch. So, I mean, they were so impressed with it. And at the time, Rashad Evans was aimed to fight. I think this is where, shit gets hairy, because Rashad Evans was scheduled to fight Shogun Rua. He couldn't fight Shogun because he was hurt. But then he gives Jon his blessing to go ahead and take his place and fight for the title. Jon does so on short notice, and I mean, I've never seen anyone go through. I mean, I'm trying to think of a fight that was a mismatch. It was like a mismatch, and it's weird because when it comes to Shogun, no one should be a mismatch. Shogun at one time was thought of to be the greatest 205-pounder on the planet Earth, and no one should be a mismatch to him. And it looked like a mismatch. He had it was like target practice for Jon. And people were chanting USA the entire time. They were behind him 100%, 110%. And, once it came down to Rashad Evans, nobody liked Rashad at that time. Rashad was the bad guy. So, ooh, boo, Rashad when he came in there. And of course, you guys are now you guys are 1 and 2 in the world. Jon Jones at number 1 in the weight class, and Rashad Evans number 2 in the weight class. But how did you not think you would? How did you think you weren't going to fight? I don't really know what happened. Someone fill me in. So I mean, it has some words that goes back and forth. He disposes of Rampage with relative ease. It took him 4 rounds. But he was the first one to stop Rampage by submission since Sakuraba back in the Pride days. Again, he called that target practice with Rampage. Rampage had nothing to offer Jon Jones. He was not going to win that fight. Anyway, so while we're waiting on Evans to heal up, he took a fight with one of my top 3 favorite fighters out right now, Lyoto Machida. Lyoto Machida actually is the only man to get a leg up on Jon Jones. He actually, his game plan was working. He was elusive. He was in and out. He was, and he actually won the first round, 10-9. And I scored 10-9 as well. And he rocked Jon Jones. He rocked Jon Jones, and that's something I want to see tested. It's going to be tested in the Vitor Belfort fight, is the chin. He rocked Jon Jones twice, and he just lunged forward once, and Jon caught him with a left, and then that gruesome standing guillotine where the Cody McKenzie thing where he kind of like flipped his held his wrist, and he said he could feel Machida go limp. So when the ref said let go, he let go, and it looked like Machida's lifeless body just flopped on the ground. I mean, is that what it was? Because that's when I was like, man, that was kind of, dude's kind of a dick. He knew he's holding up dead weight. Why would he drop him like that? That was terrible. Like had that been on like Fox or something, I don't think Fox would be so cool with putting another UFC on, or so many of them on anyway, because that was it was a gruesome thing to see. Machida's face smack off. It was just a lifeless body, and why not hold him up? Or I mean, I guess there's not much you can do, but he did walk away kind of cocky, and he does have like a brash attitude. But think, if you're 24 years old, you're running through everybody. It turns out that you're the most talented fighter on the planet. And I mean, Anderson Silva's nearing his 40s. You're nearing your mid-20s, so you're about to take over. I mean, you're driving around in a $200,000 Bentley. You're a multi-millionaire. The world. You got the world by the you got the world by the balls, man. I mean, anyone's gonna change. That's just my opinion. And last but not least, he fought Rashad. Those two argued like an old married couple, like an old divorced couple, and I guess they're cool now or whatever. But the strategy he used there, incredible. The elbows, incredible. A couple times he let Rashad off the hook. I saw Rashad's eyes roll. I saw his feet weren't underneath him, and Jones didn't go in for the kill. A couple times I saw him kind of let his buddy off the hook, but. Just what is it about Jones? Is it the DUI? Is it being a hypocrite? Is it literally throwing Machida's lifeless body aside and walking away? I mean, what is it about Jon Jones that at UFC 128 he fought Shogun Rua, and he had I mean, everyone in my living room chanting Jon Jones, and he had everyone in that arena screaming USA. And now anyone who faces him, they want them to beat Jon Jones' ass. The people that show up want to see Jon Jones lose. What is it about Jon Jones that turned bad? What is bad about Jon Jones? I don't understand. He's a Christian. He's maybe a little brash. Who wouldn't be with how fast he's become successful, and how fast he's I actually think he's been pretty humble for the millions of dollars he's made, the Bentleys he's crashed, and while he was drunk. I mean, it comes down to this. I just don't understand how this young kid that's setting records, and what's scary is he's not even in his peak yet, can have so many fans, just like last year, and maybe say one or two of the wrong things, and go to be one of the most hated fighters in our sport. And what he said on Twitter about carrying the cross for my company's decision. I mean, I already did a video on that. What do he and John Lennon have in common? John Lennon said, "I think we're bigger than Jesus." At this point, that was back in the '60s, and they gave him shit for that in the '60s, and he didn't really mean it. Neither did John. To me, it seems like just another thing to hate Jon Jones for. We had this problem in the '60s, and what it is sarcasm. John Lennon knows that he doesn't have more money than Christ. Christ doesn't need money. Everyone knows that Christ is magic. Turns water into wine, man. You don't need money if you can turn water into wine. Regardless, the whole point of the video are we hating on Jon Jones because he's something that we're not? Is it something that subconsciously we just, especially us as males with testosterone and egos, have, Jon Jones has and we don't? These unattainable God-given talents that he didn't even know that he had, and he gets a new one every day. I mean, that puts him, a notch above the rest, especially, people like me, blue-collar, 30-year-old males. I'll never be a Jon Jones. Jealousy, does it come into play? Sure. But, I mean, is that really overwhelming enough to make an entire country who was behind you. I mean, who was, oh my God, you should see this amazing kid, this prospect in mixed martial arts, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, you know, this cocky little bastard. Is that really enough? You know, is jealousy just enough, or did Jon Jones really blow it somehow? And if it was Jon Jones' fault, let me know what he did to make you angry. What did he do? And I would love for one of Jones, a Jon Jones fan, like you used to be a fan and you're not now. Tell me why. Tell me what made you stop buying his pay-per-views. Tell me what made you, you know, want to see him lose the belt instead of retain it. That's pretty much, you know, what I'm trying out. Because anything that Jon Jones has said and done, it's not like it hasn't been done before. You know, look how much shit Tito Ortiz talked in his career. People love Tito Ortiz. He was probably the most, at one point, beloved fighter in the UFC. BJ Penn, just one of the biggest shit talkers ever. But, you know, beloved by everybody, the greatest lightweight ever. I mean, it seems like people are giving the youngest kid the hardest time. He was, I mean, his net worth is $4 million. And this happened in the span of a year. Imagine going from making a few $100 to $4 million in 1 year and driving a Bentley. It's going to change you. You know, you probably will get an ego. I would. But, yeah, let me know what made the world turn on Jon Jones. Comment section below. Fill that fucker up. I want to know. Thanks for watching, guys.